Bridging is a basic feature of networking equipment. Even if you think of the most simple switch that almost acts like a networking manifold, where a single message sent into one of the ports will be distributed across all other ports, then you could say that the ports of that switch are bridged. That is the basic idea of bridging, connecting separate physical ports into what we would call a single broadcast domain, or in more simple terms, creating a communication channel between those ports. In RouterOS, of course, you can pick and choose which ports should be bridged and which should not. Now, networking equipment, of course, is more complicated than just several pipes being joined together. First of all, there are collision detection and avoidance mechanisms built in, so that if two devices are communicating at the same time, their messages are not mixing up. But more importantly, nowadays, when someone says bridging, they usually mean transparent bridging, which implies that the equipment does something slightly more intelligent. It gathers a table of all the MAC addresses that are communicating through the bridge and the respective physical ports that those MAC addresses can be reached from. That table is called the Forwarding Information Base, or FIB. Then when a message from one of the connected devices enters the bridge on a switch or a router, the destination address of that message is compared against this FIB table, and it gets forwarded only to one single port. Without transparent bridging, networking speeds would be a lot slower because all the connected devices would be getting spammed with frames that they're not interested in. So that is the general idea of bridging. MikroTik devices with multiple ports will typically come with a default configuration that already includes a bridge. But if you would like to configure one, it is very simple. In the GUI, just click on the word bridge and then the little plus button to add a new bridge. You can leave the auto-suggested name or enter your own and click OK. That creates this software bridge entity, but it doesn't have access to any physical ports. So you have to click on the Ports tab, then click the plus button to add a port and select the physical interface and the respective bridge. Do the same thing at least for one more port and you can begin using your new bridge. The ports that you added show up in a list on the Ports tab. An important thing to note is that there is the capital H letter showing up. That means that your bridge will be taking advantage of what we call hardware offloading, where the work of forwarding the packets is done by the switch chip and not the CPU. The switch chip is just a lot more efficient. When you're changing a lot of settings, you are not sure what you're doing, and you notice slower speeds or just high CPU load, check back on the bridge ports section and verify whether the letter H is still visible next to your ports. Some settings can prevent hardware offloading, and that will be reflected in the port list. Another thing worth noting is that if you create several bridges, you will notice that not all of them get hardware offloaded. So if you need such a setup where you create small groups of ports, you'll have to learn about VLAN filtering, but it might get pretty complicated. Alright, I hope this made sense to you if you are a MikroTik beginner. If this was too basic or too complicated, let me know in the comments.